Hi everyone, it's Natalie here. So one of the things that I really want to do for my depth year is kind of apply the learning and some of the knowledge, and of course like show some of the decks that I'm working with. So I want to come back to doing general readings more regularly again, but what I'm thinking is I'd like to do the general reading as defined by Paul Foster Case and other Golden Dawn magicians and so forth, and practitioners, for the new moon. So given that the 13th of March is in fact the new moon, it seemed like the perfect time to go ahead and jump in and start. So here we are. So I'm going to work with the Gentle Tarot, which is a brand new deck to me. And this makes a great opportunity to get to know how it speaks and how it functions and all of those things. So I've taken the liberty of shuffling already and, of course, pulling out the Fool. So we're electing our beautiful, most beautiful Fool here from the Gentle Tarot as our significator. So I'm going to shuffle the Fool back into the deck, and once I have done that, we will proceed with the piles. It shuffles pretty good, this little deck here. It's not bad. It's not the easiest to shuffle overhand, I'll admit, but I could see it getting easier. Okay, so again, those of you who may never have seen this before, oh look, a little bundle of fluff. What fun. The joys of having cats again. The fluff is just epic. So as I do this, the significator is shuffled back in, and then the deck is cut into 4 piles, each signifying the name of God in Hebrew. So Yod, Hey, Vav, and Hey, which then represent wands, cups, swords, and pentacles. So let's see which pile. Aha, here we are. We're in the wands pile very clearly. Okay, well that was easy. That didn't take any time at all. So when our card is in the wands pile, you know, our intuition is the way forward. So our intuition is going to tell us everything we need to know about how to solve any problems that come up throughout the week or throughout the next couple of weeks, you know, as this next lunar cycle begins in the lead up to the full moon. The Fool, or rather the Wands pile, is also going to tell us that whatever cards we pull, right, from the piles, from this pile as we move forward, it's, you know, we want to be thinking about how each of those relates to our spiritual condition, to creative pursuits, possibly to our career, you know, career pursuits, career interests, etc. Trying to think if there's anything else covered by wands here that would matter. Things that we're passionate about. Because often we are passionate about our career, our spiritual pursuits, and spiritual journey, right? So let us go ahead and set this up. That was probably way louder than it needed to be. Sorry if I blew out your eardrums. Oh, wow. Okay, this presents a very interesting question. We'll see if that pops up. It's because it's card counting. 22 is not part of that cycle. So we'll see what happens if that ends up in our rotation or not. Okay, so we're starting with the Fool, which is an elemental card. So we're going to go ahead and let the Fool pop out just a little bit there at the top. We won't be able to catch everything that's happening here at the bottom of the screen, but as we all know, that's usually not a big deal. Got my little pen and paper to write down the order of the cards as we pull them. So we have 1, 2, 3. Our first card is the Page of Cups or the Seat of Cups. And pages are worth 11. So we count an 11 for pages. Is that right? Pages are 11. Pages and aces I tend to... Yeah, no, pages are 7. Pages are 7. Aces are 11. So page is 7. I was thinking, wow, that seems an awful lot for a page. Okay. 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And our next one is the 9 of Thunder. Or Swords. Okay, so that's 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Ooh, 4 of Wands is next. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. I knew it. The Hanged Woman. Which is an elemental card and is assigned 3. That's going to be so interesting. So we end up with the Unseen card. Okay. So no, we don't. We skip over it and we end back up at here, right? Is that right? Yes. So we're not counting the Hanged Woman. We go 1, 2, 3. So we're back at our Seat of Cups. I keep waiting for one of these decks where I forget that with card counting, you know, an extra card or 2 in the deck is going to create a problem, right, for a general reading. And I've worried about that before with the Numinous Tarot, and it hasn't presented as a problem yet. All right, so we're going to have the Seat of Cups first, followed by the 9 of Thunder, and the 4 of Wands. Whoops, there she goes. And finally, the Hanged Woman. So I'm going to clear this up, and we'll flip around the camera the other direction. Okay, so for our new moon on the 13th of March, so it looks to me like we're going, it's interesting too that this being is looking up at the moon here. We're going into a cycle of lightness, of greater lightness. Things are lightening up, things are getting easier. It looks like we're starting from a place of more playfulness, this is, of course, it's a Seat of Cups, but it's an otter, and it is actually the Page of Cups. Otters are very playful. They like to play. You know, there's a certain innocence, of course, that's suitable for the Page of Cups that's present here. And what we get is something that's, you know, leading us into a place where we are much lighter hearted. You know, able to come from a place of playfulness, vulnerability, maybe hope even, that things will be a little bit better, a little bit lighter, and a little bit more playful. And that increased sense of vulnerability is going to bring with it, you know, a lot of heaviness and weight, right? As it often does. You know, when we feel vulnerable, it feels good at first, and then what happens is that a certain amount of anxiety begins to creep in, right? I'm not entirely sure where Mari is going necessarily with our 9 of Thunder here, and I kind of want to look at the book. Again, this is a new deck to me. So what does she say about her 9 of Thunder? Full moon, my love, I take from it what I need, and now I go and grow. Worry, regret, guilt. Sleepless nights are common among us all. You definitely are not alone. The depth of night is a potent time for our head and heart to clash. The person depicted here pulls up a heavy blanket made of scattered lightning bolts and repetitive thoughts of the unconscious mind. They carefully crawl towards the moon, reminiscent of how a moth flickers near the light. Ooh, look at that. So she's not really going too far. Oh, and there's journaling here too. Wow. So, oh, how beautiful. Beautiful, right. So as we're, as we're moving into this, it's not far from where I would have gone. I just wasn't sure how she was going to interpret that. I love reading card creators' books, because they tell you so much about the imagery and where it's going, right? And the full moon here feels important to me, because I feel like as we're going toward the full moon, that lightness and playfulness of heart is going to give way, over this time period, to a certain amount of anxiety, a certain amount of repetitive thinking, heavy activity in the mind. Am I enough? Am I doing enough? Am I creating enough? Am I being enough? Have I done enough? All of those are going to come to mind. This will probably be an ongoing thing, as things begin to open up, as we begin to try and look at like how do we deal with the world, now. That's going to be part of it. The Four of Wands tells me here that this newness and innocence and vulnerability combined, with that, with the cyclical mind, the mind that's working overtime and reviewing fears, concerns, worries, etc., is part of the plan, right? We're kind of going through well, I love how she's done it here. It's, the butterfly wings tell us about the transformation, right? So in the same way, in a regular Rider-Waite-Smith deck, we would be walking through that, can't remember what it's called, but it's, the beautiful canopy, right? Into a different place, into a different world. That's where we're headed. That's part of what's fueling this too, and this, right? We don't know quite where we're headed. We know that it's some kind of an initiation of sorts that's going to lead us to a different place, which is a little bit frightening and scary. And then, the result being the hanging woman, tells me too to look at this, to look at what is happening here with the playfulness here in the, at the beginning and at the end. Take a light heart. As we go into this next phase leading up to the full moon, we will have the fears, concerns, and anxieties, but is it going to be any worse than it has been? It doesn't look like it will be, right? It's already been tough. A lot of that has been here, but by taking a lighter approach, being willing to view the world around us from that lighter approach or from a different perspective, right? Flipped upside down, is going to be very helpful in terms of knowing how to move forward. And again, we found our significator in the Wands pile this week for this new moon. And so that also tells us that, as we're looking at things from a different perspective, part of the different perspective that we can incorporate is also our intuition. Right, is taking that intuition and moving it forward and making it an active part of the way in which we examine the world around us from that playful and definitely flipped upside down perspective. Remembering too that there's something about the hanging person, individual, man, woman, etc., that is usually regarded as being voluntary, right? There's something about choosing to self-sacrifice. I wouldn't call it that in this case, really, but of choosing to view things differently. I think too we can see that there's an encouragement here towards viewing whatever it is that we're looking at or about to go through as something that can be encouraging, lighthearted, explorative. And transformational, coming from that kind of a place. So we're not viewing things with as much heaviness, but we're looking at it much more lightly, much more lightheartedly, much more playfully, and much more openly. Yeah. So if you find yourself getting caught here, in this Nine of Thunder, where all you can see is like, ah, you know, here it comes, all of this stuff that's responsibility and, you know, cycling thoughts that are heavy and hard to bear. It does that to us, right? It sucks in our viewpoint and our perspective so that everything else is gone. We don't see as much. Here's our antidote. You know, embrace what's there. Embrace what you're seeing and perceiving. Remember, it's not the only thing that's there. It's not the only thing. You know, we have so many other places we can go, things that we can look at, you know, ways to see the world around us and our experience of it. Right? And then just remember that you can choose to take a different view. There we go. And with that, I bid you adieu and invite anyone who's watching to come to the live stream Sunday, March 14th at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, as it is in the United States and Canada. Because I'll be playfully pulling out all kinds of decks and reading for whoever shows up. Come with your questions, come with your inquiries. You know, we can read personal things, we can read more societal things, we can just play, right? We can play. So with that, have a beautiful new moon cycle. And when we get to the full moon cycle, we're going to look at what we can cut loose. Take care, and I'll see you next time, everyone. Bye.